Imagine a book no one can read, a machine from 2,000 years ago that predicted the stars, cities swallowed by the earth. These aren't stories. They are real things. They are clues, clues left behind by people long gone. People who lived lives we can only guess at. Think about it. Our history isn't a straight line. It's full of gaps, big dark spaces where we just don't know. We find strange objects. We see impossible structures. We read old writings that make no sense. And we wonder, what did these people know? What secrets did they hide? Could a simple drawing explain a forgotten technology? Could a weird symbol point to a lost civilization? Scientists, historians, and explorers keep digging. They look at old maps. They study ancient bones. They scan the seafloor. Each new discovery is a piece. It's a tiny, often confusing piece. But maybe, just maybe, these small bits of information hold the answers. Maybe they can help us solve some of the biggest puzzles our past has given us. What if we were just one clue away from understanding something huge? Something that changes everything we think we know about history. Number 22, what does that weird book really say? Imagine holding a book. It looks old, really old. It has drawings of plants that don't exist. Stars arranged in ways we don't understand, and naked people in strange little pools. But the words? They are just gibberish. Or maybe not. This is the Voynich manuscript. It's a medieval book about 240 pages long. It sits in the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University. It's been there since 1969. Before that, it passed through many hands, emperors, alchemists, scholars. No one could read it. Not ever. The paper is animal skin. Radiocarbon dating, done by the University of Arizona in 2009, showed the parchment was made between 1404 and 1438. So it's from the early 15th century. That makes it really old. The ink and colors seem to be from that same time. The writing itself is unique. It doesn't look like any known language. Not Latin, not German, not Hebrew. Nothing. It has a lot of short words. Some letters repeat often, some letters only appear in certain places. This makes it hard for cryptographers. They usually look for patterns, for statistical regularities. But the Voynich doesn't quite fit. Many smart people tried to crack its code. One famous cryptographer was William F. Friedman. He helped break codes in World War II. He spent decades on the Voynich. He led a team in the 1940s. They called themselves the First Voynich Manuscript Study Group. They failed. Friedman himself later thought it might be a hoax. Just nonsense written to fool someone. But the patterns in the text are too complex for a simple hoax. It has a structure. It seems like a language, just one we don't know. Some researchers think it's an artificial language. It's created for a secret purpose. Others think it's an encrypted message, maybe using a complex cipher. Like a polyalphabetic cipher, that's where letters can mean different things depending on their position. Or maybe it's a micrographic text, where tiny details in the letters themselves hold meaning. Some even suggest it's glossolalia, that means speaking in tongues, but written down. That seems a bit far-fetched. Recently, research from the University of Alberta in 2018 used artificial intelligence. They tried to translate it. They thought the language might be Hebrew, and that the letters were jumbled. They found some success. They said some words made sense, like farmer and light and air. But it was far from a full translation. Many scholars are still very skeptical of this. And other AI efforts have also come up short. The puzzle remains. This book holds some kind of information. But what is it, and why is it so hidden? What if the plant drawings are the real key? What if they show species now extinct, and the names of those plants are written in the weird script? What if the book is not about words at all, but a visual code? A sequence of images meant to be read in a specific order? And what if the person who wrote it didn't want anyone to understand it, ever? What kind of secret could be that important? What if it's the only remaining copy of an entire lost language? What if it describes a technology or a belief system we can't even imagine? Number 21, did ancient people build a computer? Imagine finding a clockwork machine. Not from the 1800s, but from ancient Greece. A machine with dozens of bronze gears. It tracks the sun, the moon, the planets. It predicts eclipses. It's like nothing else from its time. This is the Antikythera mechanism. Devers found it in 1901 off the coast of Antikythera, a Greek island. It was inside a shipwreck. The ship sank around 70 to 60 BC. The mechanism itself is even older. Scientists think it was made between 200 and 100 BC. The divers found it in pieces, badly corroded. It took decades for researchers to understand what it was. Early work was done by archaeologist Valerio Stiez. He saw gears, he knew it was something special. Later, physicist Derek J. de Solla Price published a famous paper in 1959. He called it an ancient Greek computer. That changed everything. It showed the device was far more advanced than anyone thought. Using the 10th rate tomography and other advanced imaging techniques, researchers have mapped the gears. Michael Wright, a science historian, reconstructed a working model. He found it had at least 37 gears. Many more were probably lost. It calculated astronomical positions. It used a complex differential gearing system that was thought to have been invented in the 16th century. This mechanism showed it was known more than 1,000 years earlier. It even tracked the Metonic cycle. That's a 19-year cycle used to align lunar and solar calendars. The device also had a dial for the Olympic Games. It showed the 4-year cycle of ancient athletic festivals. This wasn't just about stars, it was about time, calendar, and culture. The workmanship is incredibly precise. The gears are tiny. The teeth are perfectly cut. It suggests a high level of engineering and mathematical knowledge. This kind of technology wasn't seen again for a very long time, not until medieval European clockmakers. So who made it and why? We don't know for sure. Some scholars link it to Archimedes, or to Hipparchus, a famous astronomer. Cicero, a Roman writer, described a similar device built by Archimedes. This device shows that ancient Greek science was far more advanced than many textbooks suggest. It was not just philosophy, it was practical engineering. How many more such complex machines lie at the bottom of the sea or buried underground, waiting to be found? What happened to the knowledge needed to build something like this? Did it just disappear? Were there entire workshops dedicated to making these, or was this a unique creation by one genius? Could similar mechanisms have been used for navigation, warfare, or other lost ancient technologies? And if they could build this, what else could they do that we still don't know about? Number 20. How did they build that first great temple? Picture a place so old, it makes the pyramids look young. A place where people gathered, not to live, but to worship. They carved massive stones, T-shaped pillars, some weighing 60 tons. They put them in circles. They carved animals on them. Scorpions, snakes, boars. This is Göbekli Tepe. It's in southeastern Turkey. Klaus Schmidt, a German archaeologist, started digging there in 1994. What he found changed everything we thought we knew about civilization. Before Göbekli Tepe, we thought farming came first. People settled down, grew food, then built complex societies and temples. But Göbekli Tepe is from the pre-pottery Neolithic period. That's around 9,600 to 8,200 BC. It's thousands of years before widespread agriculture. This means hunter-gatherers built it. People who didn't live in permanent settlements. They built this huge, sophisticated complex. The site has several large circular structures. Each has those big T-shaped pillars. They are made of limestone. They were quarried nearby. How they moved them and set them up is a mystery. They didn't have metal tools. No wheels. Just simple stone tools and human muscle. This would have required a massive coordinated effort. It suggests a complex social structure, even among hunter-gatherers. Schmidt believed the site was purely ritualistic. A pilgrimage center. People came from miles around. They built these structures. They feasted. Then they left. After a few centuries, they deliberately buried the site. They filled it with earth. It was preserved for thousands of years. This burial means we found it almost perfectly intact. The animal carvings are important. They are not just decorations. They might tell stories or represent specific clans or astronomical alignments. Some researchers like Martin Sweatman from the University of Edinburgh even suggested some carvings might be a record of a comet impact, an event that caused a younger Dryas impact event around 10,800 BC. This idea is still debated, but it's intriguing. It suggests advanced observation of the sky. Göbekli Tepe forces us to rethink everything. Did belief and ritual come before farming? Did people come together to build places like this, and then, because they were together, start farming to feed themselves? It flips the old theory on its head. It shows us that hunter-gatherers were far more capable and organized than we imagined. What other sites like Göbekli Tepe are still buried, waiting to be found. If hunter-gatherers built this, what else did they achieve that we have no record of? What was the exact purpose of these massive stone circles and their carvings? Were they calendars, storybooks, or something else entirely? Like what caused them to bury such an important site? Was it a conscious decision to preserve it, or was something catastrophic happening? And how did they manage to organize and feed so many people for such a huge construction project without agriculture? Number 19, why can't we read their ancient signs? Imagine a vast civilization. They built great cities, they had advanced plumbing, they traded across continents. But their writing, it's a complete mystery. We can't read a single word. This is the Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization. It existed from about 2500 to 1900 BC in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. It was one of the three great early civilizations, along with Egypt and Mesopotamia. Archaeologists found thousands of artifacts, seals, pottery, tablets. They have short inscriptions. Usually just a few symbols. The script is called the Indus script. It's made up of about 400 distinct signs. That's too many for an alphabet, too few for a purely pictographic system. Most likely it's logographic syllabic. That means some symbols represent whole words, others represent syllables. The longest inscription found has only 26 symbols. Most are much shorter. This makes it really hard to decipher. We don't have long texts. No Rosetta Stone has been found, no bilingual inscription with a known language. We can't compare it to anything. That's the biggest hurdle. Many people have tried to crack it. Those scholars like Iravatha Mahadevan, a leading expert, compiled a huge concordance of the script. He analyzed the patterns, he studied the direction of writing. It generally goes from right to left. But that's as far as we get. There are no clear connections to other ancient languages like Sumerian or Egyptian. Some scholars, like John E. Michener, propose a link to Dravidian languages. Modern Dravidian languages are spoken mainly in South India and parts of Pakistan. This is a common hypothesis, but it's not proven. Others suggest an Indo-Aryan connection, but that doesn't fit the timeline as well. The earliest Indo-Aryan texts are much later. A small group of academics, most notably Michael Witzel from Harvard, even argue it's not a language at all. They say it's just a system of non-linguistic symbols, like religious or political icons. But most researchers disagree. The frequency of symbols, the way they are combined, it all points to a structured system. So, it looks like writing. This undeciphered script is a huge wall. It stops us from fully understanding the Harappan people. We know about their cities, about their drains, their weights and measures. But we don't know their names, their rulers, their stories, their beliefs. It's like looking at a beautifully designed house but never hearing the voices of the people who live there. What if the clues to their downfall are hidden in these texts? What if they recorded advanced scientific or medical knowledge? Are there similar undiscovered scripts in other parts of the world that could help us? Could understanding this script completely change our view of ancient India's history? And what does it mean for a great civilization to have left behind such a rich material culture, yet remain completely silent to us? Number 18, what was that strange disc for? Imagine finding a clay disc. It's about 6 inches across, covered on both sides with weird symbols, spiral patterns of them. There are 241 symbols pressed into the clay. They look like pictures. A man's head, a fish, a bird, a shield. But they are unlike any other writing found. This is the Phaistos disc. An Italian archaeologist, Luigi Pernier, found it in 1908. He found it in the Minoan palace of Phaistos on the island of Crete. It dates back to the Middle or Late Minoan Bronze Age. Around 1850 to 1600 BC, the symbols were not written. They were pressed into the clay using stamps. This is very important. It means it's a form of early printing, perhaps the earliest example of movable type printing. That technology wasn't supposed to exist until Gutenberg in the 15th century AD. So this is a huge puzzle. The disc has 45 unique signs. They appear in groups separated by lines. A line also runs along the spiral. It divides the symbols into sections. There's a debate about the direction of reading. Does it start from the center or the edge? Most scholars think it's from the outside, moving inwards. Many people have tried to decipher it. Archaeologist Arthur Evans, who excavated Knossos, worked on it. He couldn't make sense of it. There are too few symbols, only 241 total. That's not enough data for statistical analysis. Not like the Voynich manuscript, and we don't have any other examples of this script. No Rosetta Stone. Some experts think it's a prayer, or a hymn. Others suggest it's a legal document, or a magic spell. Linguist Benjamin Schwartz proposed in 1959 that it's a dedication to a goddess. A few researchers, like Jerome Eisenberg, even suggested it's a fake, but most scholars accept its authenticity. The context of its discovery, deep within the palace, supports it being real. One intriguing idea comes from Gareth Owens and John Coleman. They are from the Technological Educational Institute of Crete. They suggest it's a prayer to the Minoan goddess Astarte. They claim to have identified some key words, like mother and Ladi, but this is still a partial and unconfirmed translation. Other theories link it to Anatolian languages, or even a game. The fact that these symbols were stamped is the most fascinating part. It suggests a system, a way to mass-produce texts, even if it was just this one disc. What if other discs were made? What if this was a prototype for a new writing method? What if the Phaistos disc isn't from Crete at all, but a foreign object brought there, and its true origin holds the key? Could it be a record of a specific astronomical event or a unique calendar system? If this truly is the world's earliest example of printing, why did the technology not spread or get further developed for thousands of years? What knowledge did the Minoans possess that allowed them to create such an advanced communication tool? And what other unique singular artifacts are out there that could completely reshape our understanding of ancient technologies? Number 17, why did they draw those giant figures? Imagine flying over a desert, and looking down, you see huge drawings on the ground, in lines, hundreds of feet long. They form animals, a hummingbird, a spider, a monkey, a human figure, and geometric shapes. This is the Nazca lines. They are in the Nazca Desert in Peru. They were created by the Nazca people. They lived there between 500 BC and 500 AD. The figures are called geoglyphs. The lines are shallow depressions in the ground. They are about 10 to 15 inches deep. They removed the reddish brown stones from the surface. This exposed the lighter colored soil underneath. The desert climate is very dry. There's almost no wind. So the lines have been preserved for centuries. Maria Rijke was a German mathematician and archaeologist. She spent over 50 years studying and preserving the Nazca lines. She lived near them. She mapped them. She believed they had an astronomical purpose. She thought they were a giant calendar or an observatory designed to track the sun, moon, and stars. Some lines point to the solstices and equinoxes. This idea is still popular, but it's not fully proven for all the lines. Other theories exist. One idea is that they were part of a ritual, perhaps connected to water. The Nazca area is very arid. Water was precious. Some scholars like Johann Reinhard proposed that the animal figures were offerings to mountain deities to ask for rain. The figures themselves might represent constellations or be symbols associated with fertility and water. Another theory proposed by David Johnson is that they map underground water sources or mark places where water could be found. He showed that some lines align with ancient water channels called pukios. This is an intriguing idea. It connects the lines to a very practical need. The biggest mystery is how they made them. The scale is huge. You can only fully appreciate them from above. But the Nazca people didn't have hot air balloons, they didn't have airplanes. Our archaeologists believe they used simple tools, stakes, ropes. They would scale up designs from small drawings to massive sizes. And they would stretch ropes between stakes. This would ensure straight lines and accurate proportions. Researchers like Joe Nickel have shown it's possible. They even recreated some lines using ancient methods. But the question remains why? Why go to such huge effort for something mostly visible from above? Was it for the gods looking down or for a spiritual journey? The sheer labor involved for such a grand, cryptic purpose is still a puzzle. What if the true meaning of the Nazca lines is a complex map, not of stars, but of ancient trade routes or tribal territories? Could these giant figures have served as signals or guides for others, perhaps even across vast distances? What other hidden messages or forgotten knowledge are encoded in their precise alignments and symbols? If the Nazca people could achieve such monumental feats of engineering, what other structures or technologies did they develop that we haven't found? And what if they were meant to be seen from a specific elevated natural point, like a mountaintop, not necessarily from flying? Number 16, how did they stack those huge stones so high? Think about the Great Pyramid of Giza. It stood as the tallest man-made structure for over 3,800 years. Built around 2,580 to 2,560 BC. For Pharaoh Khufu, it's made of millions of stone blocks. Each block weighs on average 2.5 tons, some weigh up to 80 tons. They are perfectly cut, perfectly fitted. How did they do it? This is one of the greatest engineering puzzles of all time. We know it wasn't slaves, not as we often picture them. Historical evidence, like the discovery of workers' villages by Mark Lehner, suggests skilled laborers built it. They were paid, they were fed, they were housed, thousands of them, perhaps 20,000 to 30,000 workers. They worked in shifts for months at a time. This would have been a massive national project. The stones came from nearby quarries, limestone for the outer casing and the bulk of the pyramid, or granite for the king's chamber. That granite came from Aswan, over 500 miles away. How did they transport these huge blocks? Boats on the Nile River would have carried the granite, and then they pulled them on sledges to the site overland, but lifting them 480 feet high? That's the real mystery. The most accepted theory involves ramps. Many different ramp theories exist. A straight ramp, a spiraling ramp around the outside, or an internal ramp. Jean-Pierre Houdin, a French architect, proposed an internal ramp theory. He thinks a spiral ramp was built inside the pyramid. Workers would have pulled stones up this hidden ramp. Using counterweights and sledges, this would explain the precise corners and the relative absence of external ramp evidence. This theory gained some support, even from Egyptologists like Bob Brier. In 2018, French-Japanese research using muon tomography found a large hidden void inside the Great Pyramid. That's about 30 meters long, above the Grand Gallery. This great void doesn't necessarily prove Houdin's theory, but it shows there are still unknown spaces. It proves we still don't fully understand the internal structure. Another important clue is the way the stones fit together so tightly. You can't even slip a credit card between them. This shows incredible precision in quarrying and masonry. They must have used very simple tools, copper chisels, stone hammers, water and sand for polishing, but how they achieved such accuracy is still debated. Some suggest they used a method called knocking out the boss, where a small protrusion was left on the stone. It guided placement, then they chipped it off. What if the pharaohs had access to a simpler, more efficient lifting technology that has been lost to time? Could the Great Void or other hidden chambers contain blueprints or tools that explain their construction methods? What if the construction involved a level of mathematical or astronomical knowledge we still don't fully grasp? And what if the method used to build the pyramids was designed to be kept a secret, only passed down through a very select group of artisans? Could some clues be in the small, unfinished pyramids showing a different stage of planning? Number 15. Why is their ancient concrete still so strong? Imagine concrete that gets stronger over time, that heals itself, that lasts for thousands of years. While our modern concrete starts to crack after a few decades, this is Roman concrete. The Romans built vast structures, the Pantheon, harbors, aqueducts. Many are still standing. The Pantheon's huge concrete dome, built around 126 AD, is the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. It's still perfect. Modern concrete uses Portland cement. Roman concrete used a different mix. They used volcanic ash, specifically a type called pozzolana. This ash reacted with lime and seawater. It created a very stable compound. This compound is called calcium aluminum silicate hydrate, CaSH. It's much more stable than the calcium silicate hydrate, CSH, in modern concrete. Marie Jackson, a research associate at the University of Utah, has studied Roman concrete for years. She published work in American Mineralogist in 2017. She found that the volcanic ash creates crystals. These crystals grow over time. They fill in micro cracks. This makes the concrete self-healing, especially when it's exposed to seawater. She studied Roman harbor walls. The sea actually made them stronger. The Romans also used quicklime. This is calcium oxide. It reacts with water and volcanic ash. This creates a very durable material. In 2023, a study published in Science Advances by MIT researchers found another trick. They discovered that the Romans used hot mixing. They added quicklime directly to the mix. It caused high temperatures. This created specific mineral phases, and these phases made the concrete more resistant to cracking and better at self-healing. Modern concrete is designed for fast setting and high initial strength. Roman concrete was designed for long-term durability. It cured slowly, but its long-term performance was unmatched. We lost this recipe for a long time. After the Roman Empire fell, the knowledge of this strong concrete disappeared. Building with such materials was forgotten. We are now trying to recreate it. For sustainable building, for structures that need to last longer, we want to learn from their lost techniques. This ancient clue tells us a lot about materials science. It shows that sometimes older ways are better, especially for environmental resilience. What other advanced material sciences did ancient civilizations possess that we have forgotten? Could recreating Roman concrete techniques help solve modern infrastructure decay problems? Were the Romans aware of the self-healing properties, or was it an accidental discovery they simply utilized? Are there similar natural materials around the world that could be used to create equally durable, sustainable building materials? And what if the full extent of their concrete's properties, like its flexibility or lighter weight, is still not completely understood? Number 14. Did ancient Egyptians have electric lights? Imagine walking through a dark Egyptian temple. You see detailed carvings on the walls. No soot marks from torches are found. And then you see a specific carving. It looks like a huge light bulb. A snake inside a bulb, connected to wires. This is the Dendera light. It's carved into the Hathor temple at Dendera, Egypt, dating back to the Ptolemaic period. Around 300 BC to 30 AD, mainstream Egyptology has a clear explanation. These carvings are not light bulbs. They are symbolic representations. The bulb is a DJE pillar. This is a symbol of stability, and it's often linked with the god Osiris. The snake inside is a serpent. It represents the Ka, the life force, and the lotus flower. This is a common motif in Egyptian art. The wires are lotus stems. They flow out of the DJ'd pillar, but some people believe it's more than symbolism. Authors like Eric von Daniken, he's famous for his ancient astronauts theories. He suggests it's evidence of ancient electricity. He wrote about it in his books. He argues that the Egyptians had a form of electric lighting, and this carving is a depiction of that technology. He points to the lack of soot. Normal torches would leave black residue on the ceilings and walls. But many ancient Egyptian tombs and temples have very clean ceilings. This argument is easily countered by archaeologists. They point out that oil lamps and polished metal mirrors were used. They would reflect light deep into the chambers, without leaving much soot. Plus, the carvings at Dendera are not from the time of the pharaohs. Okay? They are from a much later period, when Greek and Roman influences were strong. They show a mix of traditions. There is no archaeological evidence of wires, or generators, or any components needed for electricity. The concept of electricity as we know it didn't exist then. The Baghdad battery, sometimes cited with this, is a different puzzle. It's too small to power anything like a light bulb. So while the Dendera light is intriguing, it's mostly understood as religious symbolism. The snake represents regeneration. The DJ'd pillar represents stability and power. The carving describes mythological events, not technological ones. Yet the image itself, to a modern eye, is striking. It makes people wonder, and that's part of its power as an ancient clue. What if the lack of soot is a genuine clue that points to a method of illumination we still don't understand, even if not electricity? Could the Dendera carvings be a more sophisticated form of symbolic representation, perhaps encoding scientific principles in allegorical form? If not light bulbs, could the DJD pillar and serpent imagery allude to a lost understanding of natural energies or phenomena? And what other ancient symbols are we misinterpreting, seeing them only as myth when they might contain a hidden layer of practical knowledge? What if the true meaning of the Dendera light is only understood through a completely lost religious or mystical framework? Or number 13, did they have batteries before batteries existed? Imagine a small clay pot. Inside, there's a copper cylinder and an iron rod running through the middle, all sealed with asphalt, found near Baghdad, Iraq. In 1936, this is known as the Baghdad Battery, discovered by German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig. He was working in Hujut Rabu. It dates from the Parthian era. Around 250 BC to 250 AD, Koenig was the first to suggest its function. He thought it was a galvanic cell, a primitive battery. If you fill it with an acidic liquid, like grape juice or vinegar, it can generate a small electric current, enough for a very low voltage. This theory sparked a lot of excitement and a lot of debate. Replicas have been made. Many experiments show it can produce electricity. In 1940, Willard F.M. Gray from General Electric made a replica, and he showed it could produce about 0.5 volts. The Discovery Channel show Mythbusters also recreated it in 2005. They showed it could generate a small charge, not enough to power a light bulb, but enough for other purposes. So if it was a battery, what was it used for? This is the bigger question. Some theories suggest electroplating, gold or silver plating onto other metals. This was a known technique in ancient Mesopotamia, but usually done by fire gilding. Or mercury gilding. Some historians suggest it was used for medical purposes, for pain relief or for religious rituals to create a mild electric shock, maybe to impress worshippers or for acupuncture, but many scholars are skeptical. They say there's no evidence of wires, or multiple batteries connected together, or any other electrical equipment. The objects were found without obvious leads or connections. Other explanations exist. It could have been a storage vessel for scrolls or a container for herbs. The iron rod could have just been a support or part of a ritual object. Archaeologist Paul Craddock from the British Museum has argued against the battery theory. He points out that the context of the find is not well documented, and other similar objects found in the region are interpreted as ritualistic items. The lack of other electrical artifacts makes the battery theory hard to prove. It's a single find problem. Still, the possibility is captivating. It challenges our understanding of ancient technology. It suggests that knowledge we thought was modern might have ancient roots. Even if it was for something simple, like a parlor trick, it would still mean a very early understanding of electrochemistry. What if the Baghdad battery was part of a larger, more complex electrical system that has simply not been discovered yet? Could other similar artifacts be misidentified as ritual objects or storage containers, hiding their true electrical purpose? If it was used for electroplating, were the ancient artisans aware of the chemical process, or was it a purely empirical discovery? What other examples of early chemistry or physics might be hidden in plain sight, mislabeled in museum collections? And what if its purpose was not practical but served a purely symbolic or ritualistic role that we have completely lost? Number 12. What exactly was lost when the Great Library burned? Imagine a building holding all the knowledge of the ancient world, scrolls upon scrolls, millions of them. Every piece of writing known to humankind, from science to philosophy to poetry. This was the Library of Alexandria, built in the 3rd century BC, in Alexandria, Egypt. Under Ptolemy Isoter and Ptolemy II Philadelphus, it was part of a larger research institution called the Mausoleum, a temple of the Muses. The library aimed to collect copies of every book written. Ptolemaic pharaohs sent agents across the Mediterranean. They bought books. They copied them. Every ship that docked in Alexandria had its scrolls confiscated, copied, then returned. The original was kept by the library. It's said to have held between 40,000 and 400,000 scrolls. Some estimates go up to 700,000. It wasn't just a collection, it was a center of scholarship. Scholars like Euclid, Eratosthenes, Hipparchus, they studied there, they worked there. They advanced mathematics, astronomy, geography. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the earth. Archimedes might have studied there. This library was the brain of the Hellenistic world. The exact cause and timing of its destruction are debated. The most famous story is that Julius Caesar burned it in 48 BC. His troops were besieged. He set fire to ships in the harbor. The fire spread to the library. But scholars like Luciano Canfora argue that only a warehouse near the harbor holding scrolls was burned. It's not the main library. It's more likely that the library declined and was destroyed over centuries. Not in one big fire. There were multiple periods of destruction. Emperor Theodosius ordered the destruction of pagan temples in 391 AD. The Serapeum, a daughter library, might have been destroyed then. Christian mobs might have been involved. Historian Edward Gibbon suggested that the library's demise was a slow process, a gradual decay and destruction, not a single catastrophic event. The greatest loss wasn't just books. It was knowledge. Many texts were unique copies. We lost ancient Greek plays, lost philosophical works, lost historical accounts, lost scientific discoveries that might have advanced human knowledge by centuries. For example, we only have fragments of the writings of Democritus, who theorized about atoms. What if a library held full treatises? The library's legacy is immense. It shows the value ancient societies placed on knowledge and the fragility of that knowledge. We have rebuilt libraries, but we can never recover those lost scrolls. What lost medical treatments or astronomical insights could have been contained in those forgotten scrolls? If the library's destruction was gradual, could some of its contents have been secretly saved or relocated? How many more libraries or archives of ancient knowledge have been lost to history without a trace? Could the absence of certain foundational texts have fundamentally shaped the course of Western thought and science? And what does the story of the Library of Alexandria tell us about the ongoing battle to preserve knowledge in our own time? Number 11 were those perfect spheres made by nature or by people. Imagine finding perfect spheres about an inch across, made of metal. Some have grooves around the middle, almost like they were lathed. They are found in pyrrhophyllite mines in South Africa. The rocks they are found in are very old, about 2.8 billion years old. This is the mystery of the Klerksdorp spheres. Since the 1980s, miners have found hundreds of these. They come in two types. Some are solid bluish metal, others are hollow. Inside, they have a fibrous material and a distinct shell. They are always found embedded in hard pyrophyllite. This rock is a metamorphic rock. It formed from volcanic ash. Some people believe they are artificial, made by an unknown, intelligent civilization, one that lived billions of years ago, a civilization long before humans existed. This idea is promoted by people like Michael Cremo. He wrote Forbidden Archaeology. He argues for out-of-place artifacts, things that don't fit the timeline of human evolution. But geologists have a different explanation. They say these are concretions. Concretions are masses of mineral matter. They form inside sedimentary or metamorphic rocks. They grow by the precipitation of minerals around a central nucleus over millions of years. They can take on many shapes, often spherical. Geologists like Paul Heinrich have thoroughly debunked the artificial claims. He points out that perfectly spherical concretions are not uncommon in nature. For example, the Moeraki boulders in New Zealand are also large, spherical concretions. The grooves, those are also natural. They are called grooves of septarian concretion, or concentric banding. They happen when the concretion shrinks or cracks, and then minerals fill those cracks, giving them a grooved appearance. The metal is often iron pyrite, or another iron-bearing mineral, which is common in these types of rocks. So, while they look unusual, most scientists agree they are natural geological formations. They are intriguing. They show how nature can create very precise shapes, but they are not evidence of ancient, advanced civilization. The puzzle comes from how their appearance sparks human imagination, and how we try to fit them into our understanding of history. What if the Klerksdorp spheres are not just natural concretions, but unique geological phenomena that hint at specific ancient environmental conditions or mineral formations? Could there be other natural formations that appear too perfect and are mistakenly attributed to human or alien design? What if there is a tiny hidden aspect of these spheres that scientists have overlooked, a detail that does point to something unnatural? How do we balance the wonder of natural processes with the desire to find evidence of advanced ancient life? And what does our fascination with these spheres reveal about our own biases and expectations about ancient history? Number 10. Who made those huge stone heads? Imagine seeing a human head carved from a single huge boulder. It weighs sometimes 40 tons, stands over 10 feet tall, with flat noses, thick lips, headgear, there are 17 of them, scattered across the Gulf Coast of Mexico. These are the Olmec colossal heads. They were carved by the Olmec civilization. They flourished between 1400 and 400 BC. They are the oldest known major Mesoamerican civilization. The heads were found at 4 main sites: San Lorenzo, La Venta, Tres Zapotes, and Rancho La Cobata. The earliest ones are from San Lorenzo, around 1400 to 1000 BC. The basalt stone they are carved from came from the Tuxtla Mountains. That's up to 60 miles away. That's a huge distance, and these are massive stones. How did they move them? Archaeologists believe they used a combination of human power, and ingenious engineering. They would have used sledges and logs as rollers. They would have moved them across land and probably by rafts along rivers. This would have been an incredible feat, especially for a society without domesticated large animals, or the wheel for transportation. Like the Egyptians, they relied on sheer force and clever methods. The faces on the heads are distinct. They seem to portray specific individuals, possibly rulers or important leaders. Each head has unique features and unique headgear. This suggests they are portraits, rather than generic representations. Some archaeologists, like Richard Deal, believe they were funerary monuments, or propaganda, a way to show the power of the rulers. Many of the heads show signs of damage, and some were deliberately buried, or even defaced. This could mean they were ritually killed after a ruler died, or when political power changed hands, or during invasions. It hints at political unrest and cycles of power. The Olmec people were sophisticated. They developed early forms of writing and a calendar system. They influenced later Mesoamerican cultures like the Maya and the Aztecs, but many things about them remain a puzzle. We don't know why they disappeared or what became of them. These colossal heads are the most enduring mystery. They are powerful statements, but their full story is lost. What else did the Olmec achieve that is hidden from us, beyond these visible monuments? Could the headgear on the colossal heads contain a forgotten symbolic language or astronomical information? If they could transport such massive stones, what other construction projects did they undertake that we haven't found? What was the true purpose of their defacement and burial? Was it a ritual, an act of war, or a warning? And what specific cultural or religious beliefs drove the Olmec to create such enduring, personalized monuments to their leaders? Number 9, what hidden treasure does that scroll describe? Imagine finding an ancient scroll. It's not made of papyrus or parchment. It's made of copper. And it lists places, lots of places, with numbers and descriptions of treasure. Huge amounts of gold and silver. This is the Copper Scroll. It was found in 1952 in Cave 3 near Qumran, along with the Dead Sea Scrolls. It dates to the 1st century AD. So it's very old. The Copper Scroll is unique. All other Dead Sea Scrolls are literary or religious texts written on parchment or papyrus. The Copper Scroll is a list, a treasure map essentially. It lists 64 locations, each with a description of hidden treasure. Gold, silver, priestly vestments, aromatics. Huge quantities. By today's value, it could be billions of dollars. It's written in Hebrew. But the language is strange, more like Mishnaic Hebrew, not biblical Hebrew. It has unusual spellings, and it's very difficult to read. The scroll was too brittle to unroll. So, in 1955, researchers cut it into 23 strips. That allowed them to read it. But the text is still hard to interpret. The biggest puzzle is whether the treasure is real. And if so, where is it? Most scholars, like John Allegro, who helped decipher it, believed it describes real treasure. He even went on expeditions to try and find it. He didn't find anything. Other scholars, like Frank Moore Cross, thought it was a folklore text, or a symbolic list, not a literal treasure map. But the details are very specific. Place names, measurements. In the ruin, which is in the Valley of Acre, under the steps leading to the east, 40 cubits a chest of money. This doesn't sound like folklore. It sounds like instructions. Some of the places mentioned are identifiable. Others are not. The leading theory is that the treasure belongs to the Second Temple of Jerusalem. It was sacked by the Romans in 70 AD. Perhaps the Essenes, who lived near Qumran, hid the temple treasures to protect them from the Romans. But this is just a theory. There is no proof. No hidden treasure has ever been found matching the scroll's description. The Copper Scroll is a tantalizing clue. It suggests a vast hidden wealth, a secret from ancient times. It keeps people guessing. Was it a hoax, a ritualistic list, or a real map to an immense fortune that still lies buried somewhere in the desert? It remains the most enigmatic of the Dead Sea Scrolls. What if the locations are coded, not literal, and point to a different kind of treasure entirely? Could the scroll be a historical document of what was once hidden, but perhaps already retrieved or moved? If the treasure is real, what impact would its discovery have on our understanding of ancient Jewish history and Roman conquest? Why was this specific scroll made of copper, ensuring its survival, when other texts were on more fragile materials? and what other ancient texts or maps might be out there detailing lost wealth or significant historical events. Number 8, did Vikings really get to America first? Imagine stories passed down through generations about sailing west across the ocean to a new land with grapes and timber and meeting strange people. These are the Viking sagas, specifically the Icelandic sagas, like the saga of Eric the Red and the saga of the Greenlanders. They tell of Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red. He sailed from Greenland around 1000 AD and found a place called Vinland. For a long time, these were just stories, myths. Then, in the 1960s, something huge happened. Norwegian archaeologist Helge Ingstad and his wife Anstein Ingstad found it. They found actual Viking ruins at Lanso Meadows on the northern tip of Newfoundland, Canada. This was it. Physical proof. The sagas were true. They found several sod houses built in the Norse style, a forge for working iron, and artifacts, a bronze pin, a spindle whorl made of soapstone, similar to ones found in Viking sites in Greenland and Iceland. These were clearly Norse artifacts. Radiocarbon dating confirmed the site was from around 1000 AD. Just like the sagas said, this site was a temporary settlement, not a permanent colony. It was likely a base for exploring and collecting resources, like timber, which was scarce in Greenland. It was a bridgehead for a brief period. The sagas also describe encounters with native people. They called them Skrælings. These encounters were often violent, which might explain why the Norse didn't stay long. Lanseos Meadows predates Christopher Columbus's voyage by almost 500 years. It completely changed the timeline of European arrival in the Americas. It proved that transatlantic travel happened much earlier. The sagas, once considered legends, became historical documents. This shows how archaeological discoveries can validate ancient texts. The discovery was big. It was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1978. It's a powerful reminder that history is often richer and more complex than we assume. That oral traditions and old writings sometimes contain very real facts, facts that just need the right evidence to confirm them. What other sagas or ancient narratives contain overlooked truths about exploration or hidden lands? Could there be other Viking settlements or temporary camps in North America that are still undiscovered? Specific conditions made the Vikings abandon Vinland after such an epic journey. Were there other pre-Columbian contacts between Europe and the Americas that we haven't found evidence for yet? And how did the knowledge of Vinland influence Norse society back in Greenland or Iceland after the expeditions ended? Number 7, what was that ring of stones really for? Imagine a huge circle of standing stones. Some weigh 25 tons. They stand tall. Some have other stones laid across them. It's a mysterious place. You feel its age. This is Stonehenge on Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, England. It was built in stages. From about 3000 BC to 1500 BC, that's over 1,500 years of construction. The earliest part was a circular ditch and bank. With 56 pits, called Aubrey holes, they might have held wooden posts or stones. Around 2500 BC, the huge sarsen stones were brought. These are local sandstone, from Marlborough Downs, about 20 miles away. The larger blue stones came from Preseli Hills, in Wales. That's 140 miles away. How did they move stones weighing up to 4 tons over such a distance? This is a huge puzzle. Archaeologists think they used sledges and rollers on land and rafts on water. They would have moved them down rivers, then across the Bristol Channel, and then up other rivers. It was a massive organized effort. Professor Mike Parker Pearson has done extensive research on this. His work suggests it took incredible collaboration and a deep understanding of engineering. The purpose of Stonehenge is still debated. The most common theory is that it was an astronomical observatory or a calendar. It's perfectly aligned with the solstices. On the summer solstice, the sun rises directly over the heel stone and shines into the center of the monument. On the winter solstice, the sun sets in a specific way. This alignment is too precise to be accidental. It shows advanced knowledge of the heavens. Another theory is that it was a burial ground. Many human remains have been found there, especially around the Aubrey holes, cremated remains. So it was a cemetery for important people, or a healing center. Some researchers, like Timothy Darville, suggest the blue stones had healing properties. Perhaps people traveled there for rituals of healing. More recent studies by Professor Parker Pearson propose it was a place of ancestral worship, or a place for the living to connect with the dead. He suggests the nearby Woodenhenge at Durrington Walls was for the living, and Stonehenge was for the dead, a ceremonial journey between the two. The puzzle is not just how they built it, but why. It represents huge investment of time and labor, for a purpose we still don't fully understand. It's a powerful symbol of the past, a silent witness to ancient beliefs. What if Stonehenge was part of an even larger complex of ancient sites, the full extent of which we haven't discovered yet? Could the blue stones have been chosen not just for their healing properties, but for specific acoustic or magnetic qualities? What precise astronomical knowledge did the builders possess that allowed for such exact solstice alignments? Were there specific rituals performed at Stonehenge that connected its astronomical purpose with its burial function? And what does the long building period suggest about the continuity and evolution of beliefs over more than 1,000 years? Number 6, how did those huge stone heads get to their island spots? Imagine an isolated island, far out in the Pacific. It's covered in giant stone statues, huge heads, some with torsos, up to 33 feet tall, weighing up to 80 tons, with big solemn faces. This is Easter Island, or Rapa Nui. These statues are called moai, made by the Rapa Nui people. Between 1250 and 1500 AD, over 900 moai were carved, mostly from tuff, a volcanic rock. It was quarried at Ranororaku, a volcanic crater on the island. Many unfinished statues are still there. You know, almost like a factory stopped production suddenly. The largest moai, Pero, is 33 feet tall and weighs 82 tons. Moving these huge statues was an incredible feat. The Rapa Nui people had no wheels, no large animals, just human power and ingenuity. For years, people wondered how they moved them. Oral traditions on the island said the statues walked to their platforms. Archaeologist Thor Heyerdahl famously experimented. He tried to move one, using many men and ropes, with limited success, but later experiments were more successful. Archaeologists Carl Lipo and Terry Hunt from the University of Hawaii proposed a different method. They experimented in 2012. They used 3 ropes and a team of people. They walked a 10-foot tall replica statue by rocking it side to side and pulling it forward. This matched the oral traditions. It suggests a clever, simple way to move them. The statue's shapes, with their bellies and forward-leaning posture, are perfect for this. The moai were usually placed on ceremonial platforms called ahu along the coast, facing inland, protecting the communities. They represented ancestors or important chiefs. They were religious symbols connecting the living with the dead. The other big puzzle is what happened to the Rapa Nui society. The island was once covered in palm trees, a rich ecosystem, but by the 17th or 18th century, the trees were gone. The society collapsed. War, famine. This is often seen as a warning about ecological disaster. Scientists like Jared Diamond wrote about it in Collapse. He argues that overpopulation and deforestation led to their downfall. The resources were depleted. Recent research by Lipo and Hunt challenges this. They argue that the Rapa Nui were resourceful, they adapted, they used different farming methods. They say European diseases and slavery after first contact in 1722 caused the final collapse. Not just internal ecological factors. The moai stand as silent witnesses. They tell a story of incredible human achievement. And a complex, ultimately tragic history. The puzzle of their movement is mostly solved. But the larger puzzle of Rapa Nui's collapse still sparks debate. What other advanced engineering techniques did the Rapa Nui develop that are still unknown? Could the walking method of moving moai have been lost and rediscovered, or was it always remembered in oral tradition? If the islanders were more resourceful than previously thought, what specific adaptive strategies did they employ to survive? What impact did the final collapse of Rapa Nui society have on their knowledge, and how much was lost forever? And what symbolic meanings are still hidden within the facial features or headgear of the moai waiting to be understood? Number 5. Where did that great river go? Imagine a mighty river. It's described in ancient texts. It flows from the mountains to the sea. It nourishes a vast land. But today, it's just a dry riverbed. This is the Saraswati River. It's mentioned extensively in the Rig Veda. That's one of the oldest sacred texts of Hinduism. Composed around 1500 BC, the Rig Veda praises Saraswati as a powerful flowing river. crest of rivers. For a long time, scholars thought the Saraswati was mythical, or that it was a reference to a much smaller river. But archaeological and geological evidence tells a different story. Satellite imagery, starting in the 1970s, showed a huge paleochannel. That means an ancient riverbed. It runs parallel to the modern Indus River, through the Thar Desert, in what is now Rajasthan, India. This huge channel is consistent with the descriptions in the Rig Veda. Scientists like V.S. Wakankar and Yashpal did pioneering work. They used satellite photos, they mapped this ancient river course, they found it was once a major river system, fed by glaciers in the Himalayas, like the Yamuna and Sutlej rivers, but over thousands of years, geological shifts happened. The Yamuna changed course, it moved east, it joined the Ganga, the Sutlej moved west. It joined the Indus, this starved the Saraswati, it dried up. This happened gradually. Between 4000 and 2000 BC, the drying up of the Saraswati might have had a huge impact on the Indus Valley civilization. Many Harappan sites are found along this ancient riverbed. Before it dried, the Saraswati was probably a major waterway, supporting large populations. The disappearance of the river might have forced people to migrate to other river valleys or to the Ganga plains. The identification of the Saraswati has political importance too. It connects ancient Vedic culture with a specific geography, and it links modern India to a very deep historical past. It shows how ancient texts can sometimes be accurate historical and geographical records, even if they seem mythical at first. The puzzle is how much of the Vedic descriptions are literal truth, and how much is poetic license. What other mythical geographical features described in ancient texts might actually be real geological formations? Could the drying of the Saraswati have been a slow natural disaster that profoundly shaped the region's cultural development? What was the true extent of the Indus Valley civilization that thrived along the Saraswati, and how much of it remains undiscovered? Are there similar ancient climate shifts or ecological disasters that directly led to major migrations or societal collapses we don't fully understand? And how does the rediscovery of the Saraswati challenge or confirm existing theories about the origins of Indian civilization? Number 4, was that underwater city natural or man-made? Imagine diving into clear ocean water off the coast of Japan and seeing huge, precise rock formations. They look like steps, terraces, straight edges, right angles, almost like a sunken city. This is the Yonaguni Monument. It's located off the coast of Yonaguni Island in the Ryukyu Islands, Japan. Divers found it in 1986. The main structure is massive, about 500 feet long, 130 feet wide, 90 feet high. It has flat platforms, sharp corners, pillars, even what looks like a triangular pool, and a relief that resembles a human face. In animal carvings, it looks very much man-made, like a pyramid or a temple. Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist at the University of the Ryukyus, has studied the monument for decades. He firmly believes it's artificial. He suggests it's the ruins of an ancient city, one that sank into the ocean during an earthquake. He estimates it could be 10,000 years old. He even claims to have found evidence of roads, stone tools, and walls. If it's man-made, it pushes back the timeline of complex architecture. For thousands of years, it would mean a sophisticated civilization existed in the area, long before anything we know about. It would challenge our understanding of prehistoric societies. But many geologists and archaeologists disagree. They say it's a natural rock formation. They call it a geomorphic feature. Professor Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University, is a prominent skeptic. He visited the site. He argues that the formations are natural. He says they are caused by natural erosion from ocean currents and seismic activity. The rocks in the area are sandstone and mudstone. These rocks fracture along straight lines. They create impressive angular shapes. These are called jointing patterns. Schoch points out that the carvings and drawings are natural weathering patterns, or very simple alterations by ancient people, not complex structures. The pyramid is just a natural rock platform. He published his findings in the late 1990s. He emphasized that the appearance of man-made structures is often an illusion of perspective. The debate is fierce, and it's hard to get definitive answers. Underwater archaeology is challenging. The Yonaguni Monument remains a captivating puzzle. It forces us to ask, how do we tell the difference between nature's art and human ingenuity? Especially when both can create such impressive forms. What if the Yonaguni Monument is a mixture of natural formations that were enhanced or adapted by an ancient culture? Could further underwater exploration reveal definitive tools, structures, or artifacts that settle the debate? If it is indeed man-made, what catastrophic event caused such an advanced civilization to sink beneath the waves? How would its existence change our understanding of prehistoric societies and their capabilities in that part of the world? And what other incredible underwater formations, either natural or artificial, are still hidden in the oceans? Number 3, was that underwater wall built by people or the sea? Imagine flying over the Bahamas. You see a long straight line under the water. It looks like a paved road, or a wall made of huge flat stones. This is the Bimini Road. It's off the coast of North Bimini Island. Discovered in 1968, it's about a half-mile long, made of limestone blocks. Some are very large and very rectangular. For many, this is evidence of Atlantis. Edgar Cayce, a famous psychic, had predicted that parts of Atlantis would rise near Bimini in 1968. So when the road was found, it caused a sensation. Supporters say the perfectly aligned blocks, the straightness of the formation and its clear edges prove it's artificial. They believe it's a wall, or a breakwater, or a road, part of a sunken city. Well, Dr. J. Manson Valentine, a zoologist and archaeologist, was one of the first to explore it. He was convinced it was man-made and part of an ancient unknown civilization. He worked with others like Robert Marks, a marine archaeologist. They argued for its artificial origin. But geologists and archaeologists largely disagree. They say it's a natural geological formation. It's called a beach rock formation, or a submerged natural jointing pattern. These formations happen when sand or sediment becomes cemented together and then broken up by wave action and sea level changes. Over thousands of years. Eugene Shin, a geologist with the U.S. Geological Survey, published extensive research on it. He showed that the rocks are typical local beach rock. They form in intertidal zones. They break into rectangular blocks due to natural processes like erosion and fault lines. He found similar formations elsewhere, formations that no one claims are artificial. The patterns of the blocks are not perfectly uniform. There are variations, and the angles are not always exact. The gaps between the blocks are filled with smaller stones. In sand, just like a natural formation, radiocarbon dating of samples from the Bimini Road also points to a natural origin. The dates align with the formation of beach rock in the region. The idea of Atlantis is very strong. And the Bimini Road plays into that longing. It's a powerful clue for those who want to believe. But from a scientific standpoint, the evidence leans heavily towards a natural explanation. Yet, the human mind likes patterns, and sometimes nature creates patterns that look almost too perfect. What if the Bimini Road is a natural formation that was subtly enhanced or used by an ancient coastal community? Could there be other genuine man-made structures beneath the waves in the Bahamas that are being overlooked because of the Bimini debate? If natural processes can create such perfectly aligned structures, how do we definitively differentiate them from ancient human construction? What impact has the search for Atlantis had on actual archaeological research in the region, both positive and negative? And what is it about the mystery of Atlantis that makes people so determined to find physical proof, even in ambiguous formations? Number 2, what was the lost city of Atlantis really like? Imagine a city built on concentric rings, with advanced technology and a wise, peaceful people. But then it became arrogant. It angered the gods, and in one terrible day and night, it sank beneath the waves. This is Atlantis, the most famous lost city, described by the Greek philosopher Plato. In his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BC, Plato said he heard the story from Solon, a revered Athenian statesman. Solon supposedly got it from Egyptian priests. Plato described Atlantis as a powerful naval empire located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the Strait of Gibraltar. It had a huge capital city with walls of gold and silver, a grand harbor, and canals. It was a utopian society until it tried to conquer Athens. Many people believed Atlantis was a real place, and they searched for it in the Mediterranean, in the Atlantic, in the Caribbean, even Antarctica. Ignatius Donnelly, an American congressman, wrote Atlantis, the Antediluvian World in 1882. He popularized the idea that Atlantis was the source of all ancient civilizations. He saw similarities in pyramids and flood myths worldwide. Archaeologists and historians mostly see Atlantis as a cautionary tale, a philosophical allegory. Plato used it to illustrate his political theories about an ideal state and the dangers of imperial ambition. The details of Atlantis, like its date 9,000 years before Solon, are far too old for any known advanced civilization. But some theories try to connect it to real events. One popular theory links Atlantis to the Minoan civilization. In the volcanic eruption of Thera, modern Santorini, around 1600 BC, the eruption caused tsunamis, and it devastated the Minoan culture on Crete. Some scholars, like Spyridon Marinatos and archaeologists, suggested this link. The sudden destruction, the advanced culture, it has parallels to Plato's story. But Thera is in the Aegean Sea, not beyond the Pillars of Hercules, and the timeframes don't match exactly. Another theory proposed by Robert Sarmas places Atlantis in Cyprus. He claims to have found evidence of underwater structures there. Other researchers, like Georgios Diaz Montexano, suggest sites in Andalusia, Spain. Near the Donana National Park, they use satellite images to point to circular structures. But these claims are highly speculative and not supported by mainstream archaeology. And Atlantis remains a powerful myth, a puzzle that taps into our desire for lost golden ages. And our fear of hubris, it's a clue that keeps leading us on wild goose chases. But it also inspires real exploration. What if Plato's account contained specific geographic or architectural clues that we are misinterpreting or overlooking? Could the story of Atlantis be a composite memory of several ancient disasters or lost civilizations condensed into one narrative? If Atlantis was real, what unimaginable technologies or societal structures did it possess before its destruction? How would discovering a truly advanced prehistoric civilization like Atlantis alter our entire understanding of human history and development? And what does the enduring power of the Atlantis myth tell us about humanity's continuous fascination with lost utopias and ancient catastrophes? Number one, are we missing fundamental chapters of human history? Imagine looking at our past and realizing it's full of blank pages, or pages written in a language we don't speak, or pages torn out completely. We have explored 21 intriguing clues, from unreadable books like the Voynich manuscript to ancient machines like the Antikythera mechanism, from forgotten temples like Göbekli Tepe to lost scripts like the Indus Valley, from enigmatic art like the Nazca lines to engineering marvels like the Great Pyramid, and the enduring mysteries of Roman concrete, possible ancient batteries, lost libraries, and even potential sunken cities like Yonaguni and Bimini. Each one of these clues is a whisper from the past, a hint that our understanding of history is incomplete. We tend to think of human progress as a steady climb, from simple to complex, from primitive to advanced. But these clues challenge that idea. They show pockets of incredible knowledge, moments of advanced technology, or sophisticated social organization, sometimes appearing suddenly, sometimes disappearing without a trace. People like Klaus Schmidt, who uncovered Göbekli Tepe, showed us that hunter-gatherers were capable of building massive, complex structures. Long before agriculture, this completely changed our timeline of civilization. The Antikythera mechanism proved that ancient Greeks had knowledge of complex gearing and astronomy far beyond what was thought possible. The durability of Roman concrete reminds us that we lost recipes for superior materials. The undeciphered scripts, like the Indus script and the Phaistos disc, are direct barriers. They hide the thoughts, names, and stories of entire civilizations. We see their homes, we hold their tools, but we can't hear their voices. The colossal Olmec heads or the Moai of Easter Island show monumental efforts, but their full meaning and the fate of their creators remain debated. Even the controversial clues, like the Dendera light or the Baghdad battery, push us to question. Are we too quick to dismiss certain anomalies as coincidence or misinterpretation? While scientific skepticism is crucial, the sheer persistence of these puzzles keeps historians and archaeologists digging. They keep looking, they keep asking. These clues suggest that our history is not a neat linear progression. It's a messy, broken record with amazing achievements and profound losses. We are likely missing huge chapters, entire civilizations, entire technologies, entire ways of thinking. We are only just beginning to piece together the fragments. Every new discovery is a chance to rewrite the story, to fill in those blank pages, to finally understand the full, rich tapestry of human history. What if the true purpose of many ancient monuments was to transmit knowledge across vast spans of time, and we just haven't figured out the code? Could there be other lost libraries or archives, perhaps buried or submerged, containing records of forgotten ages? What if some ancient civilizations reached a technological or philosophical peak that we have yet to rediscover or even imagine? Are we looking for clues only in the places and forms that fit our current understanding, thus missing completely different kinds of evidence? And what does it mean for us as a species to have such a fragmented memory of our own past?